with the glasses on? Because it's like,
It's up to you.
okay,
It's up to you.
all right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Today is very, very, very special because we have two great things to announce and to say. We have back my friend who was on vacation, Nikita. We
Hey,
have John Zito, the guy with the deepest voice ever and the best sounds and best questions. Dev, always Dev, the one, the only. And my dear friend from Brazil, the only person that I have met in person since I started the channel, Bia. We know each other, we met each other. It's a pleasure to have you here, my dear, to have a conversation for half an hour. I would like to say hello to everybody. Hello, John Zito. Hello, everybody. How are you today? And then after we go to Bia. How are you, Navid? Nikita, how are you?
good man, good, doing good. How are you actually?
I'm great. Dev, how are you? I can hear
Dave,
you.
you forgot
Dev, you're
your
muted,
mic.
Dev. Awesome, Dev.
I'm crazy. I'm not going to say I'm fine this week because I have a lot on my plate because of college.
Yes, John Zito, my dear, my co-host, with the
I'm pretty.
amazing t-shirt. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking.
Dear Bia, can you do your proper introductions, please?
Oh, okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Ana Beatriz Santos. In Brazil, it's very common to have two names. But my nickname is Bia. Is how a lot of people know me. This is being my nickname since I was born. I'm a journalist. I live in Brasilia. Brasilia is the capital of Brazil. And before being a journalist, I was a language teacher. I used to teach English for kids and teenagers and business people too. By the end of my career, 1 year, 2 years before I come to Brasilia. And what else? I'm 52 years old. I'm a mother of a 27-year-old woman who is a teacher too. She teaches English and history, and now she's getting a master's degree in law, in
Yeah, awesome.
human
What's that?
rights. She's getting a
Wow,
degree in
wow.
human rights. And
W-
it has much to do with the things we did our whole life, right, Rod?
Right, right. Well, before we begin, allow me to put my two cents in while before John Cito and Nikita start with the questions. I would like to say that Bia is one of the most incredible people that I've ever met in my life. Anything you need her, she's always there. She always understands. She always helps you to find the light of things and the best answer to things. So I think because we worked together to an NGO and we are part of it yet, but when my wife and I met Bia, we became friends instantly. In a heartbeat, we were friends. And I want you to know that she's really amazing and she's a great person. And it's always a pleasure when it's possible for us to get together. So, Johnzito, please, what's the first question?
Hello again, guys. So the first question is always the same. What does friendship means to you?
Friendship is, I think, is the one of the biggest treasures we can cultivate and keep in our lives because we choose our friends. We don't choose our family. And but our friends, we can choose them, and we can choose how to keep them and how to uh, make the friendship grow along the time through the time. And This is a decision, and I think that's it. It's one of the biggest treasures a person can have.
Agreed. So, Nikita, what is question two?
Okay, okay. So the next one. Basically, you said that you're a journalist, right, Bia?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Can you please tell us why you decided to become a journalist? Because it's quite a difficult choice, right? A career. It's not so obvious.
Well, the thing is, I was a kid that used to love to write and read.
Mm,
And in Brazil, when I was little, teaching was not a very valuable career. You wouldn't make a lot of money. You could have no jobs, and you knew if you had a job, you would have to work a lot. So,
Right.
and for me, was not an option by that time to become a language teacher or to go to literature, only to become a teacher. And
Okay.
then, and then I just bite my tongue, because that's what I did for 15 years.
Did
I
you like? Sorry. Just curious. Did you want to like be a teacher that much that you just said no? I don't care. I just want to do it.
the thing is, when in Brazil, usually if you had an inclination to
Right.
write, to become a
Mm.
writer, you don't have a special school to become a writer, because
Mm.
writing is pretty much considered an art,
Mm-hmm.
and not much
Yep.
technique by that time. So what were the college options I would have if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to write better? I could go um, to the course that we have here. The name in Portuguese is letras. It's the
Okay.
language, is where you learn the language. You learn Portuguese and you learn a foreign language altogether. And but
Mm-hmm.
this course specifically teach you how to develop your literature part, but you also
Right.
have to study to become a teacher. It's
Mm.
quite
Mm-hmm.
mandatory. You don't have much choice. Rodrigo can
Right.
Rod can tell you more about that, because he
mhm.
did that too.
Well,
And the other, yeah,
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
and the other option I would have, I could go to the communication school, which
Mhm,
is
Okay.
where you study to become a journalist, because writing techniques is part of this profession. But and
mhm,
at the same way, I was very outgoing. I could speak very well, and I liked to know about people. So this would make me find good stories in a easier way than other people. And then I decided, well, I can go to college to study journalism, because not going to college was not an option for my family, because I was the oldest child, and
Right.
my parents come from a very humble background. So my father, when he went to college, he was a father already. He had
mhm,
4 kids,
I
so
see.
he knew the importance of the education.
mhm,
So he
Right.
said, no, you must go to college. But when I went to college, I had already been a foreign exchange student in the United States. I got a scholarship when I was 18 years old from the NGO where me and Rod, we right now we work as volunteers, and
I
this
see.
just changed my life, because I knew I could have an option. And while I was studying at the college, communication in Portuguese, we study communication, journalism. We can study communication, marketing. You can study communication,
mhm,
TV, cinema, and that's
mhm.
it. But you
I
have a main
see.
stream. It's called communication, and
Okay.
Then, when I went to study communication, guess what I did while I was in college to make my living? I became an
Mm,
English teacher,
Yeah.
So I
right,
started to
right.
teach English when I was 18 to 19 years old. And I
Mm-hmm.
did that for like
Mm-hmm.
2 decades almost.
Were you teaching Brazilian teenagers or they were like other
No,
nationalities? How
pretty
was
much,
it?
pretty much Brazilians. Pretty much
Like,
Brazilians. I don't think I had many
uh-huh.
foreign students in my groups.
Mm, I see.
I
Mm-hmm.
I taught. I had groups from 10
Uh-huh.
years old up to 80 years old. So
Right. In the
uh,
classroom, right? You would go
not
to
in
a
the same
classroom.
classroom. I had like
Ah,
kids in one classroom. I had teenagers
uh-huh.
in a different classroom, and then I had
Right.
adults from
Right.
18 up. But I had 18-year-old and
Uh-huh.
80-year-old on the same group. Like
Wow.
yeah, like the
Wow.
grandfather and
Okay.
grandson. Actually, they were doing the
Okay.
language course together. They started to study English together.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
That's
that
Just
was
sweet.
very
just
nice.
to fill you guys in, the name of the course equivalent in English would be Languages and Arts. You
Languages and
know,
arts.
that's what we
Oh,
studied in
okay.
Brazil. I also studied languages and arts because so I chose Portuguese and English because I didn't have many options. And I would like to point out as well, Bia, that I wanted to bring you to Friends Aras not only because we are great friends, as I said earlier, but also to show you the impact that working with teenagers around the world. I wanted to join John Cito, Dev, and Nikita because we are really good friends. And the latest acquisition to the podcast was John Zito because once he told during the podcast, I'm still an English student, but he does amazing things. And by the way, tomorrow I'm going to have an interview with John Zito on my channel, and I
Great.
wanted to bring these guys to show that language unites people. It doesn't matter the nationality that you have, but language unites people. Like, although Johnzito and I speak Portuguese, during the podcast, we speak in English. Dev, I don't speak any Hindi. And Russian, let alone Russian, I would never say one single word in Russian. But I wanted to bring to say that friendship is possible in any language. So that's why I created Friends Are Us, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. Johnzito, what is the third question, my friend?
Oh, okay, okay. Uh, so Bia, you said that when you was 18, you got a scholarship to United States. And I just want to know where did you go for like an exchange program in the United States?
I went to the state of New York. There is a region in New York that's called upstate New York. Upstate New York is a rural area. Okay, it's very pretty. It's very nice, but there you have very small communities, and they are rural. And it was very curious because in Brazil, I used to live in a city with 400,000 people, and it was like for Brazil, it's considered a medium-sized city, but it was a developed city because São Paulo state is a very modern, developed state. So I left from a big city in Brazil to a small rural area, to a small rural community in the state of New York, and everybody, most of the foreign people that I know, when you say, "Oh, I lived in New York," they always remind of New York City. They never imagine that the state of New York has a huge rural area, and that's where I lived. I lived 8 hours from New York City. It was very far away. Actually, I went to New York City twice. When I got to the United States by the JFK airport, and when I left the United States by the JFK airport. most part of the year, most part of my um, in my interchange year, I spent on small cities, rural areas, and visiting other communities, other small cities, other rural areas. I think the biggest place
Mm-hmm.
I visited was Orlando because of Disney World. My host family took me to Disney World as a gift. They gave me this gift because
Nice.
for my Brazilian family, it would be very expensive, and they took me there for a week as a gift in the spring break.
Oh,
One
That's
and
pretty cool.
also once you're there, it's much easier, you know.
Oh,
So
sure, yeah, you are there,
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
and it's
I'm
Uh,
just curious about something. Uh, what was like the most challenges things that you have faced in the interchange?
when I was an exchange student. I think well, first, but um not that big. The first thing was the language, but because I never studied English outside school.
mhm,
And if you go to school in Brazil, you know that the English we learn there is very poor. Usually, people that speak good English in Brazil, they have to take like a course that you pay for outside the
mhm,
school. Okay, and I didn't do that. So my interest in English was because of music, because I used to like music a lot. So that's why I started to learn and to hang out with people that were into music, into rock and roll, into pop music. That's why I started to study with my friends and develop this curiosity about language with my friends. Then first one was the language, and I guess the second one was to adapt to live in a very small area, in a very small community. You see, I came from a city where there were 400,000 people to live in a place where you have 3,000 people, in the village. If you count the rural area, then you would have more. You had 5,000 people living in the rural area, so it would be like an 88,000 people in the community. And nowadays, I was checking on internet, and it seems like the community got smaller. People left to live in a big city.
okay.
So, yeah.
Is it like a
mm.
village where you can find just like animals going around? You know, they people breed cows. How was it basically? I'm
How was?
curious.
No, it was a very charming, small
Small town. Yeah,
small town.
yeah.
Pretty
Right.
much the same things you can see in movies. There is a movie that shows pretty much what the vegetation, the environment was like, which is that movie, Dirty Dancing,
Yes.
which is in the Catskills.
Okay.
Catskills
Yeah.
it's a destination for vacation for people
Yeah.
who live in New York.
Yeah.
It's a lake mountain area. It's pretty much like the place where I lived. And the small city, the
Mhm.
small town would be the same design as that one from uh,
From
Back
Dirty
to the
Dancing.
Future. No, the
Yeah.
city,
Okay.
the town,
Back
the
to the Future.
environment.
Yeah.
Back to the Future. That
Hmm.
kind of that
Yeah.
design of town. Then you have the
I
club, you have
get you.
the zoo,
Well,
you have
well, let
two.
me try. Let me try to put it to you. It's a small town in a rural area. You have everything,
You have
but
everything.
you don't have the wilderness. Like you only see one house and in the woods. No, you. I say it because I live in a rural town.
Yeah.
You know, and if I tell the number of inhabitants that I have in my town, you guys are going to cry because it's nearly 20,000 people. Not even 20,000 entirely. Nearly 20,000
I
people.
see. Yeah.
Okay.
Small.
So, Johnzito, let me ask you, what time is it now? What do we have now? Now?
Well, right now It's time for Dev's question.
Deb, be careful because Bia is my friend. So be nice, you know.
Uh, As you are in, as you are a journalist, I have a question related to it. As a journalist, you might have interviewed so many people till now. Which famous personalities have you had interview with, and how was your experience with them?
Good question.
Well,
I love it. I
yeah,
love
no,
it.
it's very odd. Well, I'm gonna explain a little bit what kind of journalism
Famous
I do.
people, yeah.
I usually I work for the Senate, the Brazilian Senate, which is the legislative power. They have a radio station, and
Mm-hmm.
I am a journalist for this radio station in particular. So usually I talk to famous people through the telephone. Sometimes I don't see them because we are in Brasilia, and Brasilia is the political center of Brazil, but usually the cultural center is Rio de Janeiro, is São Paulo, Salvador.
Mhm.
So sometimes I interview people and they are in these places and they are not in Brasilia. But let's see. Um, usually they are political. They are politicians or they are related to politics. Usually the presidents of Brazil when they come to the Senate for something. Sometimes I have the chance to interview them, not one to one, like and what you call in Portuguese coletivas. They get a
Mhm.
huge group. They make a
Press
pool.
conference.
Yeah, it's a press conference. Usually you
Mhm.
have 20, you have 30 journalists all at the same time making questions all together.
Mhm.
Um, so who I did? Lula, Lula, which is
Current president.
the current president. He was the president 10, 12 years ago. No, more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
yeah, he had two terms of 4 years by the time I
Mhm.
interviewed him.
Mhm.
Um, the former president Dilma Rousseff, the former
Mhm.
president, usually Michel Temer when he was president
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Who else? But
Bia
person to
interviews the
person.
important people,
Yeah,
the people who run the country, like
yeah, yeah. Sometimes,
Okay,
but
and
usually
yeah.
they are not. They are not. Usually, I don't make exciting questions to them. Let's see who I did. Yeah, in my radio station we have a show uh, uh, which is dedicated to books. It's about literature, so I enjoy it
Mhm.
a lot because I'm a crazy
Awesome.
reader and because being a writer was my teenage dream. So
Mhm.
there, I think I interviewed two or three writers that were
Mhm.
very interesting. We have a kid, a guy. He writes for kids. He's about
Mhm.
82 years old right now. His name is Pedro Bandeira.
Mhm.
He's a well-known writer. Kids in Brazil like him a lot.
Mhm.
I interviewed him also, and it was a very good interview. Who else? Maybe some singer because it's a radio station. Sometimes we interview
Yeah.
singers or musicians,
Mhm.
but not somebody that oh my gosh. Oh, I interviewed a surfer, an athlete of surf.
Mhm.
His name was Teco Padarats. In the 80s, he was one of the first famous Brazilian surfers to get a
Mhm.
international prize, international tournament. And
Mhm.
once he was here at the Senate for something related to politics or related
Mhm.
to environment,
Mhm.
to things like that. And I interviewed him,
Mm.
and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm interviewing
Uh,
that, like
yeah.
the guys who were very much younger, they didn't know who he was, but
Mhm.
people my age knew who he was, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm
Yes.
interviewing somebody that when I was a teenager I used to
Well,
to
you guys have to know that Bia works in the middle of where everything happens in terms of running the country, you know. So if you need to talk to politics, to Senate representatives, you know, anything, she's there. Inaugurations, everything, she's there. But I think that that's why she's such an incredible person because she has all this knowledge. And Nikita, what is the next question? I think it's a funny story, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's about time we asked
Yeah.
a funny story.
So,
Maybe Bia, you have something like that. Like you said, you interviewed the people, and probably there were some questions that you heard, right? And
like a
some
funny
questions,
story that you have as a teacher or as a
all
reporter
that.
or
Yeah,
whatever that you could
yeah.
oh.
share with us. Yeah.
Oh, usually my life is full of funny stories, and so
Go
I
ahead.
know, I
I
do know.
usually I laugh all day long
Yeah.
because sometimes I'm very distracted. So I put myself in some situations that that
Hmm.
well, another person would be embarrassed, and then
Hmm.
and I don't get embarrassed because oh my gosh, this is so common. It
Hmm.
happens all the time. But right now, let me see. Um, I don't know. Do you remember any, Rod, that we passed through together?
Well, there is a lot because when we would have to travel to Rio, and there was
Yeah.
one time that it was my wife Bia and myself. We were going to eat, and Talita said, "I'm going to do something." Talita's my wife, for those who don't know. I'm going to do something, and I was outside with Bia waiting, and Bia went, and I was in my wheelchair, and I said, "Bia, you are forgetting. You're leaving me.
Yeah.
You're leaving me behind." Oh my God, I'm sorry. That's
Just,
the way Bia is, you know. Bia, can you do this? Yes. And she, wait, I'm going to get
yeah.
some
Oh my God.
coffee, and then 20
I
minutes later, she's back. You know? But
yeah. I forgot.
that's why it's so funny, as she said, because she has good laughs with herself. You know,
Yeah.
these
That's
are
the way it should be.
amazing stories. Amazing
Yeah.
stories.
Let me
And,
see if there.
um,
I remember one in particular. Wow, you should have me told that before, because otherwise I could make a research.
no, anything that comes to your mind, anything that comes to your mind that
Oh,
happened
I
these
don't
days.
know. I once I started to interview a person, and the person was visibly drunk,
That's
and
a
it was
nice interview.
yeah, and
That is
no,
a nice interview.
and actually was it was these things like oh fulano such and such is here inside the Congress palace, and we are supposed to get some words from him to put in the program, to put in the news show. We have a news show every day. And then I went there, and the guy was saying something very very
Senseless.
yeah, it
Senseless.
doesn't it didn't make any sense what he was saying. But and then they start to sing, you know we have a politician here. This one I can say the name because
Yeah.
is he's very popular, and
Mm,
he's a representative
mm,
from São Paulo state, and now he's not in the
mhm,
Senate anymore. His name is Eduardo Suplicy, and Eduardo Suplicy is it's something. He's something, and now
yeah.
he's a representative in the city of São Paulo at the city hall. We
Mm,
call that in Portuguese vereador. He's a
mhm.
city
He's a city
representative.
council
Yeah,
representative. City
he's a
council
city
representative.
council representative.
Yeah.
He represents the people from São Paulo in the city hall.
Mm,
And he used to sometimes he started to talk to you about something, and you really needed that quote that he was saying, and then he changed the subject and told a story completely different from when he was a postgrad student in Stanford, and then he told this history of the city of San Francisco about the earthquake, and he forgot to come back and complete what he was
I
saying.
see. Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a story that he loves to sing. There's a song from, I think, from the 60s, Blowing the Wind. He loves to
Mhm.
sing this song, and he used to sing
Mhm.
this song all the time. You know, he was talking to him, and then he started to sing, How
I love people. I love people who are like this, because you ask a
yeah,
question
yeah,
and how did you like this? I bought a blue T-shirt.
yeah, yeah.
There's no connection to the answer. It's really good.
Yeah, and sometimes
Well,
it's sometimes it's difficult because usually they are important and they are
mhm,
the Senate. The
yeah,
Brazilian Senate has the same sense of
yeah,
the original Senate in Rome. Usually they are older people. You must have a certain age to become a senator, and
mhm,
usually you have to treat them as you treat like any older person
Yeah.
respectfully. And sometimes you cannot cut them. You know, you have I
yes,
just
Mm.
me as
mhm,
a civil servant.
mhm,
I
Mm.
have to stay there and
mhm,
okay. Oh, excuse me, but we are short on time. Can you come back and
mhm,
answer me that question about
mhm,
that thing? So when I got here, I wasn't able enough. I wasn't smart enough to do that, you know. So
yeah,
I suffered a lot for in my
yeah,
first 2 years here, and then I got used. And then nowadays I don't have to go there and talk to people.
mhm,
Usually I'm produce. I'm now I'm
mhm,
on. I'm not a reporter anymore. I'm a
mhm.
producer. So I
Okay.
develop the shows. I develop
Mhm,
the TV the radio
mhm,
shows we have. And many
Right.
radios from Brazil they use our shows for free. You know, so I'm a
mhm,
like a content
mhm.
developer.
Yeah,
That's what
great.
I'm doing. That's it.
That's cool.
Well, before we go, I would like to say that Bia is also on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel where she reads poetry, she does book reviews, she talks about it. And what is the name of your channel, Bia?
The name is Morda a Língua. That's like
Bite
bite
your
your
tongue in
tongue,
English.
bite your
Bite your
tongue in
tongue.
English.
And you can, but she talks about very important books, and it's really nice. Please follow her, subscribe to her because she's amazing. And boys, what are your final words? Because we have to let Bia go and finish this amazing conversation. I would be here up until the cows come home, uh, we have uh, but we have lives. And
Yeah.
what are your final words, Nikita?
Yeah, yeah. It's nice to meet you, dear. It's well, really nice, and the things that you told today, and those funny stories, they're really great. So, you know, if you ever remember another funny story, or maybe you feel like you want to share something, we're always welcome you here. So, thank you.
Great, great. I will make like a memoir so I can recall some of them and tell you.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
I'll make a list of them and then we talk to Rod and I come here just to tell you these funny stories.
Okay,
Right.
Dev, what can you say about it?
It was really an awesome experience with you. You're funny, kind, and gentle. That's all I feel.
Well, thank you. Well, I invite you guys to listen to our show on Rádio Senado too. We are on internet. The name of the show is Autores e Livros, which means writers and books
Mhm,
in Portuguese. And we
Right.
are on every weekend, Saturday, 5 o'clock
mhm,
in the
mhm,
afternoon, 5 p.m., and
mhm.
Sunday, 9 a.m. But we are on
Okay,
Okay.
internet and on all the platforms of IE.
awesome. And our
Okay.
latest and awesome addition to the podcast, Johncito. What
John,
are your last words?
It's first of all, it was a pleasure to have you here with us. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not a person who is into politic, but I could see like the light in your eyes when you speak about your profession. and that is the
Yeah.
really, it's a real amazing thing.
Hmm.
Yes, and I wish you can back here more time.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
Well,
you. Thank you. I'm a radio person, so I enjoy doing what we're doing now, talking and talking about things, telling stories. So it's this much more than politics, but politics is very important. So you have to, and this is an advice I give you guys whenever you are,
mhm.
try to see how these people that are responsible for your country are acting. Okay, this is your,
Mm,
it's a right you have. So it's
mhm.
always good to know what they're doing.
Right.
Well, my dear friend, I can't say much. You know everything that I think and everything that my family thinks about you. It's always a pleasure and it's always fun to have you around. And I also have a one-on-one interview with Bia on my channel. If you want to
Yeah,
check it, it's from the early times, but
yeah.
it's fine. And it was awesome to talk to you. Thank you,
Oh, thank
everybody. I
you.
hope
Don't
you
for
enjoyed.
Mr. Road.
Yes.
Don't forget to say Bia to stay.
Yeah, I
Tuesday.
did. I
Uh-huh.
did. I
Okay.
did. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
It was
you. Thank
awesome.
you.
V, thank you so much. Mega, thank you so much. Pratik, thank you so much. All the others watching, thank you so much. See you next week with a friend of ours from London. It's going to be a great podcast. See you there. Bye bye.
See
Yeah,
Bye
once
you.
bye.
again,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Bye bye. See you. Thanks. Bye bye.